It is one thing to have read the texts and heard the tales of the past, but quite another to finally see them with my own eyes. To see the great walls of Blackfire Keep, the so-called blood moss on the Great Plain where Sigmar once rallied a new nation. Over 2,500 years of history have taken place here. Much of it, sadly, violent. Even before the coming of Sigmar, this route, known then as Hars Draz Kadrin, was vital to the dwarfs and their ancient lands. It saw much bloodshed during the War of Vengeance. The great greenskin hordes of recent times have come through here as well. Gorbad, Ironclaw, and Grom the Paunch, all breaking through here before reaching the rest of the Empire, before finally being stopped. History was rife in the air, and now perhaps we will discover one final mystery here. I believe we are on the right path. We are close. This is fated. This is Red Moon Roleplaying. 3 days of travel through Blackfire Pass. 3 days being surrounded by the great mountains themselves. Some of the features are not new to you, Kruger and Heinrich. You have seen dwarven ruins now. But to you, Siegfrieda, perhaps the first time you've truly seen some of the great monuments the dwarves once made. Largely square statues of their forebears, their ancestor gods. One of which, you are told by Barrick in passing, is of Valia, one of their ancestor gods. 2 other dwarves surround this statue. You don't know who they are, but apparently they are called the Three Mothers. And it is here where Quintus Fassbinder begins excitedly drawing the attention of the 3 of you. Ah, this is wonderful! Excellent, my friends! I believe we are close, somewhere to the east. Yes, the east. That is where the mine must be.
Would it be navigation to have a sense of whether he's actually true or not?
Certainly. Make a navigation roll.
Oh, well, I'll take that. That's a 4 for the 3 levels of success.
On such a success, he's hopefully right. You haven't seen this mine, but that's apparently where it's supposed to be, according to the map and information he had. Somewhere just before you get to the Three Mothers, apparently. Again, the pass does have side routes. There are other mines, or attempts at mining in these lands. There are, of course, the ways to the Dwarven Forts. You just passed the Dwarven Fort of Vinfang Dum a few hours ago, so it's not unusual for there to be small paths into the other parts of the mountain, although often they all eventually reach a dead end or a steep mountain climb. But on that roll, you think this is where you're going to find this mine.
Well, rather it's a good as guess as any.
Do you lead the way then, Inquisitor Shilf?
It feels appropriate. Certainly Quintus can't, and if we're going to be, the damn heroes of Middenheim, may as well ask for one. So as our scholarly, elderly gentleman friend announces that we have arrived, indeed, I will be the first off my horse, ready to lead the expedition onward.
Indeed. And finally, you begin trying to find a way off the main road. After all, you all know that if you keep going south, eventually you will reach Zan Mingol, or the ruins of it anyway, and then eventually you will actually just leave the Empire and find yourself in the lands of the Border Princes, which would be, well, interesting, but going quite off course. Everyone agrees that whatever happened to Sigmar, he did not just pop up in the Borderlands when he vanished, after all. And so, you keep a close eye out, and you find a small path leading off. What do you do?
Well, I suppose the first most important question is, are Siegfrieda and Kruger joining me at the van?
Do you?
I certainly will.
Yeah, with Erica.
Yes, Erica. Quite happy, actually. She's been enjoying her time in the pass. She's also been enjoying the time with that Houndmaster and his hounds. Granted, he's not been so happy, and his dogs haven't minded the pass, but they've been a little bit tepid. But for some reason, Erica is not cowed by this strange new land, and quite excited to be barking at mountains.
Well, it's certainly a break for her from being on board a boat.
That it is. And so with Erica at your side, and of course Kruger, you join Inquisitor Shilf at the vanguard, and you also see this small mountain path. It is not paved, it is not at all officially cleared out, it is just a small path that goes off to a corner. But apparently, somewhere along here is this mine. Again, a mine that, according to documentation found by the Black Chamber, was recently, in the last 6 or 7 months at least, bought by individuals from the town of Bogenhafen. 2 of which are now very dead. By your hands. The houses of Tegan and Steinhager, or at least their representatives at the time.
Well, as the other 2 approach, they will find me making sure my boots are properly tied. Nothing worse than hiking your way up into the mountains with loose leathers, and then rising up to full height as they both approach. Ah, welcome. I hope I've rescued you in time. No lectures from our dear academician on the way up?
What an excellent word. No. Just occasionally having to fend off religious debates and accusations of heresy. You know, the usual thing.
I heard as much. A very angry priest captain came to me and swore that you were spreading a heresy that would bring down the Empire.
I'm really not sure where that started. I don't think I was talking out of turn, but, you know, some people are more sensitive about this kind of thing than others.
No, it seemed we've surrounded ourselves with that number. What about you, Kruger? Any diplomatic incidents?
No, it's been relatively calm for me. I think we just need to try and focus on the mission now and try to avoid getting anyone upset. It feels like everyone in the Empire is just looking for a reason to fight.
That's exactly what I was thinking. And every time you try to tell them to calm down, that there are bigger things in the world to worry about, oh, they don't like that much at all.
They do not.
As the 3 of you are having your conversation, you can literally hear Quintus Fastbinder giving a lecture to everyone else as they all start gathering just a few feet behind you.
As we were saying, well, let us not waste our breath on idle words. We will need plenty of it to summit this trail. It occurs to me, Siegfrieda, you actually haven't had the joy of a nice mountain hike with the 2 of us before.
Let me think. Have we ever hiked a mountain together? I mean, we've hiked over lots of different terrain. I think mountains have evaded me because of my retreat from our last adventure.
They certainly did, and you have to admit, Siegfrieda, that these mountains are far more mountainous than the Middle Mountains by a long shot. They really go up quite high, very stark, and often in the morning and afternoon, something on the surface seems to be quite reflective. It's quite impressive. And as well as, of course, all these dwarven ruins, dwarven forts, dwarven monuments, and occasional massive piles of dead orcs and goblins long left to bleach in the sun.
Oh, the gods. Someone's been busy.
Quite.
Indeed, you would all know that the most common foe from the south are the hordes of orcs and goblins. Chaos not so much. Funnily enough, they're more northern.
Well, I'm going to refrain from picking through the corpses. I don't think there's much I'm going to be able to find there.
No, most of the shrines, if you were to call them that, you think have been there for potentially decades.
Yeah.
Well, that answers the most important of my questions. Well, aside from it being morbid, is there any immediate sense of danger, or is it just a very well-decorated pathway?
No, in fact, the second you go further along, it becomes far less decorated because that was the main pass itself, and now you are, well, actually going down a very small path. This can barely fit 2 people at a time. It really is just a little kink in the mountain facade.
Well, fair enough.
But after 10 more minutes, you find your mine. Again, the small kink seems to come to a natural end, finally being completely blocked off, except for the classic small mine entrance that awaits you. Made of wood, propped up, a small tunnel awaiting you. You see just nearby a very small cleared area where there do seem to be some tents and some carts, all abandoned.
Not the first time that I've stumbled into an abandoned mine with a sense of worry. I've prepared myself for travel, unless there's something immediately leaping out of the tunnels at us. I'll light a torch and in we go.
And I'll follow.
As those two bravely march onwards, it does seem to be left to you, Siegfried, to perhaps mention what you're doing to everyone else. There's after all at least 25 other people 10 minutes behind you. Are you going to give them a little warning? Are you going to maybe suggest they come with you? Are you going to say they should camp out here for the moment? What will you do?
It's always the way, isn't it? These boys that I travel with, they see a hole in the ground, they insist on jumping into it. I shake my head. This shaft, or tunnel, how wide are we talking? Is this like an enormous cave, or is it more of a tunnel that you'd stretch to fit 2 people side by side?
The latter. It strikes you as a classic mining tunnel. It's probably initially designed to only have 2 or 3 miners going back and forth. There's space for them to, be hauling things out. You don't see any evidence of anything like tracks, so they probably hadn't got that far, but you do see the carts they would have used.
Do we have anybody in our 25-strong retinue who has any kind of knowledge or expertise in tunnelling and mining?
As they all begin to gather, and you ask, only Barey. And he kind of frowns a little and mentions, no, my family weren't miners, alright, just because I'm a dwarf. I know a little about it.
Nevertheless, there may be some places you can access more easily than the rest of us, so why don't you come along? And completely dismissing his concerns. And the rest of you camp out here. If you hear a scream, well, send someone in. I'm not the commander, and I shrug, and I will head on in with Erica and expect Barey to follow.
The Baron and the priest captain nod, although they do say to let them know as soon as they're needed, as they all begin gathering their things. And of course, Leah begins gathering the physicians, because after all, you also have a small physician unit. You've managed by this point to get their names and talk to all of them. They're pretty good at doing as they're told, you've noticed, despite being similar age to you and all just physicians.
Well, I'll pass on very quick messages of, make camp, ensure resources are gathered. We've all been doing this for some time now. You know what to do. Just make sure nothing is bolted down so securely that you can't move fast if something happens.
They nod and obey your instruction. It's also worth noting for Kruger and Heinrich that you did invest in light sources and climbing gear. So everyone has stuff ready, and you yourselves already had good high-quality torches that you as well will have access to, Siegfried.
Let's take one of the physicians' apprentices, or just physicians. They're not apprentices, are they? They are full-fledged physicians from the guild.
Correct. All picked by you, specifically with experience in the military. All far off from being doctors, but again, you know that your experience in that area is special.
I'll take one of them with us and someone who is armed and ready to kill. So Barey can... So basically, each one of us in the main party almost has a double.
Would you like to pick from a warrior priest or a knight panther?
I'm getting increasingly tired of the priests, but I'll take a warrior priest. partly because if something bad happens. Anyway, and a physician. So we got Barak, warrior priest, and physician to come with.
Very well then. Yes, you take Oleg, the physician. Nice young man, bit of stubble, only in his 20s. But again, one you've noticed is quite good at just doing as you tell him. One or two of the others occasionally have questioned you. Not for long, but they have sometimes challenged you a little. You know exactly what's going on. They often challenge you on things that are out of your scope, because of course you've not had the same education. You know more than all of them, but not necessarily about every subject. But Oleg does as he's told.
Tell me, Oleg.
My lady, aye.
Have you ever been into a mine shaft before?
Can't say I... a mine. One time we were stationed, I had to, when I was an apprentice, I had to help out some of the Reichsguard. They were sieging a mine. There was a beastman. Beastman had taken the mine, but I didn't have to go in. The patients were outside, so this will be a first.
Well, I have every faith in you, Oleg, that you're going to be able to keep it together. Remember, the reason you're here is mainly in case I get injured.
Aye, of course. The warrior priest, meanwhile, you recognize. It's Ludwig. He gives you a look of respect and nods, but he doesn't say anything.
I won't say anything back then, I'll nod as well. Okay, Barak. No dilly-dallying.
Barak grumbles. It's fine. Humans always need one of us to help you scout out the dark and the tunnels. Can't you see for yourselves? I don't know. Fine.
Yes, where would we be without you?
Huh. Less cheek, he leans in. Remember, I know you're no lady.
And I know that you're far more than just a dwarf.
Perhaps, as you say that, there is something in his eyes that acknowledges that as respect. And so he stops grumbling, and gets his torch and axe ready and heads onwards. Kruger and Heinrich. You are aware of what just happened. You kind of went in a little, stopped, and realized that outside you left poor Siegfrieda to handle everyone else. So you are aware of what just happened, but you're still at the front. What do you two do? You have a long tunnel in the dark ahead of you.
Oh, I'm sure Siegfrieda would appreciate the fact that we've gone ahead to make sure the way is safe before she comes along.
She probably would.
And I am certainly very eager to explore this place. It's been a long journey, and yes, a little bit of excitement. Doesn't feel so bad right now.
Feel free to make some perception rolls. No penalties due to your excellent scouting gear. In fact, actually, give yourself a +10.
That's a very good roll. That is 04 under 78, so that's another 7-degree success.
A god amongst men. Far better than mine.
Well, Inquisitor Shilf, you certainly aren't surprised by anything, but at some point you notice, perhaps it's his excitement, perhaps it's his paranoia, that Kruger just suddenly darts ahead of you and just starts moving along the walls, like almost excited as he just starts assessing the area. You head out ahead. You're pretty sure there's no dangers, so maybe that's why you just run ahead almost. You quickly begin getting a layout of the place. One main long tunnel, but eventually it splits off into 3 or 4 side tunnels. All around you, wood, rock, something else. You have to admit you're not really seeing anything that unusual. You swear this currently seems like a normal mine, and not just any normal mine, but a mine that's just begun, as if this was the initial excavations. God knows what they were actually looking for. You're not seeing anything valuable in the walls, no gold or silver or iron. It all just looks like rubble and stone to you.
I tend to trust Kruger in matters of detecting danger. So if he's moving at this clip, that suggests to me things are fine. He's much more circumspect when there's something to be worried about.
That is true. Behind you, Siegfrieda, Oleg, Ludwig, and Barak. Barak stops for a moment and starts poking at the wall. Do you have any lore geology, Siegfrieda?
I'm looking now, and I thoroughly doubt it. No.
No, in that case, you can make a roll, but it'll be at a penalty. Let's do a lore -30, as this is Not something in your expertise, but you are still a well-read individual.
Well, I still succeed. I get a 14 out of 33.
Wow. Well done. You go over to look at the wall, and you see that Barrick's looking at it too. Huh. That's a little odd, ain't it, Lady Wittgenstein? As he pokes at the wall.
It's certainly not normal.
You look to where he's poking. At first, you have no idea what he's talking about. You don't know why this is interesting. You don't know much about mining, but, well, you do know, that you're looking at almost nothing. Not even rock. This looks more like highly condensed rubble. You can even see a little bit of a twig, as if a tree once grew here. Which is really strange. You thought mines were normally mined into mountains. Why would you mine through rubble?
This place is probably quite unstable, Barrick, if this is all compacted rubble.
Exactly. And also, why on earth are they mining here? And why is there rubble here? Which was supposed to be in the mountain.
Well, it tells me that there was a temple or a fort or a structure here that has since collapsed.
Highly unlikely. There's no record of that, and my people keep pretty damn good records.
I'm not suggesting the kind of building that we would have, or you would have, something that wouldn't be recorded on a record, but I don't know. Maybe someone has brought rubble in here from the outside. I guess we can but continue exploring.
You do so, and you have to admit, due to your role, Secreta, that it continues the whole way. In fact, now you think about it, it's all rubble. This entire complex so far seems to have been mined through great amount of rubble and detritus. An awful lot, of course. It would still require mining through, but yeah, you're not seeing a single bit of solid stone anywhere here.
I will say to Oleg and Ludwig, try not to hit the ceiling at all with your weapons or heads. The walls are probably solid enough. They've got several tons of weight on top of them. But what I'm more worried about is the roof collapsing in. I'm sure if it was going to happen due to natural geology, that would have happened a long time ago, but you can never tell when the slightest movement of the earth, I say, with a bit of rapidity and volume to make Oleg jump, it could make the whole thing fall in on your head.
Oleg looks visibly startled and does exactly as you say. Ludwig is less intimidated, but he sees, it seems, the wisdom in your words and just nods. Meanwhile, it seems it's Kruger in the lead. A few tunnels. You quickly shine your torch down one and see it literally stops 2 minutes in front of you. You shine it down another. That leads somewhere. Interesting. And then a third one. And then I'd like you to make a perception check.
That is a 36 under 68, so that is 3 degrees of success.
There's a smell down this tunnel. A bad smell. Something rotten.
I'll point that out to Heinrich. Smells real bad from there. Don't think we're gonna want to go there. Best avoid it.
Could I place that smell? Perhaps the distinction between, like, survival and lore undead?
Yes, no need to make a roll. Death's down there. That's the smell of rotten flesh. But not as potent as it would be if it was fresh. No. Old, dead corpses. Or something like that, at least. You'd have to go and look to really see what it is.
I certainly will not. Remnants of an old expedition, perhaps, but not the kind of... no whiff of magic about it. Doesn't seem dangerous, just foul.
True. You suddenly notice that Erica has bounded ahead and joined you at your side. She starts growling in that direction and barking.
Oh, well, hello, little friend. I see you also don't have a taste for it.
She barks in confirmation, but then begins moving in that direction, sniffing the ground.
Have we lost Siegfrieda? Does Siegfrieda know that we've lost her dog?
As you say that, you notice that the other three are right behind you. This complex isn't actually that large.
Oh there, friends. Saying that, I realise that's the kind of thing that bandits say before they're about to kill people, so I make it clear. Lady Wittgenstein back here.
Good of you to join us just in time to find the charnel pit, apparently.
Yes, it doesn't smell so good over there. It smells of death, in fact.
With that, I will approach with some speed. That sounds interesting.
And you smell the smell as well, just down this tunnel, which then leans off to the left.
Is it fresh, wet death or stale, dusty decay?
You take a moment to smell. No roll needed for a physician. The latter. Smells of old death. Old decomposition.
Far be it from me to speak up over your medical advice, but whatever's in there, I'd like to perhaps know what it is before we leave it at our backs unattended.
Oh, I agree.
Barrack nods vigorously. Aye. If we're going through this place, we can't be having a tunnel that leads off into our flank. We'll need to scout ahead.
Well, much as I would love to send Siegfrieda alone on a medical expedition, that seems unwise. Barrack, perhaps if you would hold down the front of the caravan and the three of us can investigate?
Barrack nods, and Oleg and Ludwig go to join him to inform everyone else of what's happening, leaving you free and Erica. The question is, who goes first?
Well, apologies, of course. I didn't mean to volunteer you, Kruger.
Well, if you want to investigate it, then let's do it. And I'll begin taking the lead.
Then you lead the way forward first, Kruger. Turning the tunnel. Nothing but darkness before you. And then the smell becomes stronger. And the torch illuminates the end of the tunnel. You have no idea how many corpses here. Anywhere between 5 to 10. Their bodies mangled beyond recognition. Arranged in a disgusting fashion. There is something on the floor. Their skin just torn apart. This is awful. Please make a willpower check at a -10.
I'll try to do a fortune again on this one. Alas, failure.
You turn. You can't look at this anymore. This is awful. This isn't dead bodies. This is something awful. You're reminded almost for a moment of the sight of your friends when you found them that night. Their faces removed. It's similar. Butchery. This is no accident. This is an act of utter depravity, and you can't look anymore. You just stumble back.
And I'll do just that. I'll try to remove myself from that situation. I cannot handle that. Not right now.
I think, given the size of the tunnel, I'm directly behind you when that happens, so I'll catch you as best as a friend can. Steady you, at least. Easy, okay, hang on.
That was a mistake. I don't recommend looking at it. It's pretty bad. Dead bodies just destroyed, and it's grotesque.
You would think the smell would prepare you, but that is not necessarily the case.
No. Certainly didn't prepare me.
Well, against my better judgment, I think I'm actually going to look for myself.
Certainly. You move forwards after comforting Kruger, and you see the sight as well. Luckily for you, you are these days made of sterner stuff, but that's only because you've been trained to experience this sort of thing. But there are other things at work here. I'd like you to make one more willpower check, Kruger Hoffman, but give yourself a +10 on the grounds that you did look away quickly and move away from the area. So you can make yourself a +10. You, Heinrich Schilf, must make an endurance roll.
Then I just make it 35 under 41.
32 under 58 for me. 2 levels of success.
Well done. Already you find yourself not even wanting to think about what you've seen, Kruger, and for some reason that helps. It helps a lot. Dead people, nothing more to be seen. You observe the sight of the bodies. And you feel sick to your stomach, but you're able to hold it in. But it's strange. It's more than just being appalled at the sight of dead bodies, because you realize that they are arranged in a pattern. And under the pattern are symbols and runes. They are arranged over some sort of ritualistic circle. You're reminded of the one you saw all the way back in Bogenhafen so long ago. And more importantly, reminded of things that you have studied. Could you roll Law Chaos? Give yourself a plus 10.
This will be a fortune from me. I don't think a 97 is the roll that I want. No, but I'll take a 37 under 42, so 0 levels of success, but it is a pass.
A ritual site. A summoning circle, perhaps. No. On your successful roll, you think this is a shrine. A shrine to the ruinous powers. You look around, you see in between the flesh and the mess some of the stuff. These must be the miners. You see mining equipment nearby. Here's where the missing miners are. Brutally murdered and arranged in a shrine to chaos.
I will communicate this information to Siegfrieda and to Kruger. Well, seems the adventure begins proper. Whoever made this has nothing good in their heart.
As you hear this information, Siegfrieda, you hear a very slight whisper on the air. Come and have a look. Come and have a look. You are given this information just before you yourself have stepped forward to have a look. Just a few more steps and you can see for yourself what's going on. Would you like to go and have a look?
I'm going to furrow my brow. I will crouch down, pet Erica briefly. Brow still furrowed. Can I still hear the voice?
No.
Did you hear that? Either of you, did you hear that?
Just arching a single eyebrow in your direction.
The answer is no.
I shake my head.
A voice asking me to come and have a look, and for some reason I have a feeling, my friends, that anything coaxing me to have a look down here is probably not looking out for my best interest.
I dare say, in my professional opinion, I'm inclined to agree.
Is this the only way forward?
No. You can turn. You don't have to look, Siegfrieda. Although could you make me a willpower check at her? Remind me how much corruption you have.
That's always a damning question. I currently have 3 corruption points.
I'd like you to make a willpower check at a minus 30.
That's a no. That would have been a failure even without the minus 30. I am currently on 87 over 16.
Then as you say to your friends, is this place necessary to pass? And, well, they shake their heads. You nod and you just start walking past them. Because you want to look. You want to look, Siegfrieda. What's going on? Why do you want to look? But you want to see. What is there to be seen?
Well, I might learn something, is the thing. That's the thing they can't understand. All they see is the danger. They don't understand that there's actually something that I might gain that I can use to help us from all of this.
Would I guess the question is, being aware of what it is and seeing Siegfrieda say, I definitely shouldn't look, and then start moving, is this the kind of thing I could interrupt physically?
No, that certainly is possible, but I do think a roll will be required. Possibly an athletics or dexterity-based roll? What do you think is fair, Heinrich?
6 of one, half a dozen of another for me. They're both fairly the same. Athletics seems... Yeah, I'm not trying to knock Siegfrieda down or smack you. It's just I'll block your path and then just kind of arms up to kind of shove you backwards, if that makes sense.
Then please make a roll, but it will be at a minus 20 because you have to be quick.
Oh, okay. Well, I am going to spend my fortune on your immortal soul. I hope you're grateful. 28. Yes, much better. So 28 under 52. That'd be 3 levels of success.
Then, in order to be successful, you leap forward. You have to grab Siegfrieda and just throw her back, because otherwise she'll just see. She'll just step and see. So you have to be forceful here, but you will be able to stop her.
Oh, easy, friend. Let us perhaps show a bit more hesitation before we go seeking out that which we should not know, yes?
You are stopped, Siegfrieda, and again a small voice at the back of your mind is very irritated, because you know things these two don't, and you know of dangers they don't, and now you're being stopped to have a look because he doesn't believe in you. Does he not believe in you? That you can resist seeing a single sight? It's very annoying, this voice, but he has successfully stopped you.
I will immediately turn to Erica just to make sure she's not going to pounce on him for manhandling me. I doubt she would. She should hopefully trust him.
You quite all right? You seem to have lost yourself for a moment.
Fine. Like I said, I heard a voice, and I think No, in fact, I know that was a compulsion. I think that I think all of us need to get out of here. Out of this particular branch. Maybe even collapse it behind us.
Well, you are the expert in medical matters. This, I believe, falls more under my purview. Kruger, if you'd be so kind as to take Siegfrieda and the others further up the tunnel, and I'll see if I can't undo what has been defiled here.
I'll do just that.
And then the next move from me is going to see if I can find one of those incendiary grenades that we found, and I will destroy this summoning circle or ritual circle or whatever it is.
You certainly can, although it will occur to you you'll need to use more than one. This can be done, but I'm going to mark it off as a use. One of 3 uses of the whole supply, because to get this done, you quickly can tell this thing needs to be obliterated. It is a shrine to the enemy. It is... something is here. As a witch hunter, you have no real idea what it actually does. For that, you'd have to have lore demonology. But you know enough that it must be destroyed.
Being a witch hunter isn't about knowing things before you burn them. It's about burning things.
And you get ready your bombs. You do, of course, realize you need to get someone to get those explosives and, of course, guard the way. And so you send for Emmeline and Bertha. And, of course, they are joined by your new friend, the priest captain. The conversation is quick, especially from the priest captain. Good work. This must be destroyed immediately. And after a few minutes, charges are laid safely, and whatever lies at the end of that tunnel is buried under fire and rock.
Praise Sigmar for allowing us to do this work in his name.
The priest captain nods. Well done. Such shrines must be cleansed as soon as they are found.
For once, Praise Captain, we are in unequivocal agreement.
Bertha and Emmeline nod as well as the priest captain leaves. Well done, Inquisitor. But what does this mean? I thought we were here. No one's supposed to be in these mountains. What, are the enemy lying in wait for us?
No, these corpses are old. Whatever has done this horror wasn't any time recently. But these mountains we've known are not as uninhabited as we believe. We'll keep our eyes and ears open, not only for threats abroad, but on threats within. The implication being obvious that if people are going to continue to hear whispers in their head, then the Inquisition is going to have its work cut out for it.
Siegfrieda, you are taken back outside just for a moment while this all happens. How are you feeling? The voice is already starting to fade, its last comment being that you could have learned something important just now. And it was buried. And that information would have been useful. But then the voice is gone. It's just your own scholarly interests.
You know, on one hand, I'm always intrigued by the possibility of learning something new, but I also have to keep my company in mind. I can't just wander off and study infernal texts with Kruger and Heinrich at my side, can I? That's more something to do back home. So I will dust myself off a little, give everyone outside a smile. We found something, I say. Quite vile, but it is now being dealt with. There is more to explore. Please, this is a fine time for those of you who are remaining camped out here to make yourselves some food or get some much-needed rest.
And so people do as you say, as after another hour or so, when the all clear has been given, the three of you all rejoin them together. There was, after all, only one other way to go, now that that route is sealed off. And it's here, Kruger, that you see something very confusing. Because suddenly, despite the darkness, there's light up ahead. Daylight.
Daylight? Oh. And I'm not expecting that, then?
You're in a mine, in the mountain. Why would there be daylight?
Must be some kind of opening, then. Perhaps... What could that be? Some kind of hidden valley or something? I'll begin leading the way towards that daylight, then, because that's exactly what we would like to see. I mean, the darkness, it's been very oppressive and has had some truly awful things hidden within it. So this seems promising.
Then you lead the way, Kruger. And after another 5 minutes, find the source of the light is exactly as you just said. An opening. And not a small one. A very large one. As if the mine suddenly just has another entrance, but that's not how mines work. And you poke your head out and see before you a great gorge. To your left and right, the gorge rises up hundreds of feet. You could maybe climb out of it, but it would take an awfully long time. You hear the sound of water. You look down, and just below you is a stream that's really coming from somewhere to the north and continues to run underneath you, going who knows where into the bottoms of the earth. As you join Kruger, Inquisitor Schilf, and Lady Siegfrieda, you see this too. Siegfrieda, due to your previous roles, you suddenly realize something very quickly. You look behind you. The rubble stops. Finally. Now there is actual, proper mountain before you. It occurs to you, is it possible that everything between the start of the mine and here is just like a landslide? Or just some rubble, and that there was never actually solid mountain here at all, but this hidden gorge?
Very interesting. What do you make of this, Barrack?
Barrack comes out and shakes his head. Bloody hell. Look at the rubble, you lot. This is a whole gorge. It must go on for... He does a little quick estimation. Could go on for hours, could go on for days. This ain't on no map. But maybe it wouldn't be. If there was a landslide or a blockage, or you saw, you wouldn't notice it unless you'd mined through.
But in this case, who did the mining if it's not on the map?
Quintus Fassbinder suddenly emerges from behind you all, seeming very excited. Don't you see? The miners! That's why they were sent here by the enemy. By the forces of evil. They must have tried to come here to find what lies in this gorge. Maybe to destroy it. This is the sign. A hidden gorge. Perhaps Sigmar came this way. This is fascinating! And he jumps up and down, clearly extremely excited.
Sir, Fassbinder, sir. I just do be aware of the sheer quantity of loose rubble around here. The volume, I suggest, should be kept to a minimum.
No!
Even though your enthusiasm is noted.
I see, you're quite right, but look ahead! Look ahead! This is no coincidence. This is the path we are meant to take. We must continue onwards. We must find what lies at the end of this gorge, the water. It must come from somewhere, no? He's got a point, Shilf. The water must be coming from somewhere.
That's true. But it could be above ground, draining to God knows where, or it could be a spring down here, draining to... This is far outside my area of expertise. I'm happy to follow Barrick in matters of geology, or our dear Mr. Fastbinder in matters academic.
Barrick starts scratching his red beard, frowning. I don't like it. We need to scout better. We maybe need to go back and organize. We were expecting a mine, not a gorge. At this point, you were joined by Baron Reiner Todbringer and the priest Captain Jocelyn. She says loudly, "We have no time to go back, Master Dwarf. Besides, this is no coincidence. This is a sign. I say we continue onwards." "Yes, if we can continue onwards, I say we continue onwards then, if that's all right." Everyone looks to the three of you. What do you think, Kruger Hoffman? Before you, a gorge. A lost gorge. You can see paths. You'll have to be careful. Sometimes move single file, make use of all that rope and climbing gear, but there are paths ahead. You can follow this stream, see where it leads.
I certainly want to do that. Finding this place and thinking that this is the path that Sigmar took, that he walked in this hidden gorge. It feels like something that would really fit into a legend and to this thing that we are investigating. It feels like this is all fated, and it's all supposed to happen. I want to get out there as soon as possible. So I'll nod.
I'm not going to make an act of cowardice be the first official act of the expedition.
No, I was going to say.
To say nothing of the logistical difficulties of getting everyone turned around. If we're stuck going forward, may as well make a big show of it. Right?
That certainly would make sense. However, as you did both hesitate, you two can make intuition rolls. That's Siegfrieda and Heinrich.
Oof, I failed it by 2, and I am fortuneless at this point in the game.
Alas, then nothing springs to mind at the moment, but what about you, Siegfrieda?
I succeeded by getting a 35 under 41, so it's not very intuitive, but I managed it.
It's still something. Especially since it's something you already fought. Why? Obviously, mines are built where people think things are, that makes sense. But remember, the only reason you know about this mine is apparently it was linked all the way back to those people in Bogenhafen who, well, were they Purple Hand, were they not? They certainly were up to no good. But why? Why did they come here? Why did they mine this mine? Without the mine, you can clearly now see, again due to your previous rolls, that yes, you would never see this place. It clearly has been hidden by whenever this landslide occurred. Hundreds of years ago? Thousands? But they came here. They made this mine. It comes to this point. Why? You don't have an answer, but that does nag at you a little.
Yes, and as I explain this to the others, I'm drumming my chin. The thing is, if there was a great mining expedition here, digging for something, looking for something, they clearly weren't on the search for ore. They were looking for an item or a place. It's one thing in particular. The question is, did they find it? Or did they abandon the search? Or were they all killed before they could find it? Because my thinking is, if they found what they were looking for, or if they fled, there would be no disadvantage to them to just bury everything in their wake. Why would they leave it open for us to find many years later? Which tells me that whoever was down here was probably entombed down here. Now all of this is reaching, but these are the gears in my brain slowly turning and clicking into place. I suppose we can ruminate and throw theories at each other for hours, but we have to look for what these people were looking for. We need to identify whether they found it, and so I would suggest we find the deepest point at which they were digging and survey the area.
On that note, Kruger, you look ahead and realise you don't think they dug any more. At least if they did, it's nowhere near here, so if they did go further, I guess you'll have to go and find it.
Well, we'll have to forge ahead then and see where they continued their dig.
Excellent. I hope, well, we've got climbing gear. It's a shame we didn't bring a mining kit, but who could have known?
Who indeed?
And so, your party gathers. Everyone else comes through, bringing the rations, the supplies, the equipment, as much as you can. Luckily, you'd already left the horses behind at one of the dwarven forts. They were a bit angry about it, but once you proved that you were here on behalf of the Emperor, they honoured the old treaties. So your horses at least will all be safe, and no one will need to watch them, as you made the last day or so on foot. So everyone begins to gather, and begins to plan, because all three of you realise that you'll need to plan here how exactly you will proceed. After all, who knows what could lie in this gorge, Kruger? Several dangers. This is, after all, now officially uncharted territory.
You have listened to an episode of Red Moon Roleplaying, where we play the legendary campaign The Enemy Within for Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay 4th Edition, published by Cubicle 7. In this final part of the series, we are tackling Empire in Ruins. Joining us as players in this series are none other than Aaron Hammonds from Queen's Court Games and our dear friend Matthew Dawkins. The music was made by Flowers for Body Snatchers, Wordclock, Metatron Omega, Ager Sonus, Apocryphus, Halgrath, and Northumbria, featuring a number of collaborations with other artists, and was used with permission from their label, Cryochamber. Check out their website at cryochamber.bandcamp.com or their YouTube channel for some moody dark ambient. We would like to give massive thanks to our champions of the Red Moon, Martin Heuschober, Simon Cooper, David, Julia, Camilla, Bob Lange, Cameron, Graham Barey, Doug Thomson, Lily, Mike Parker, Maciej, and Black Templar for their generous support. We would of course also like to thank all of our other patrons. Without your support, the show would not be possible. If you want to support our work, please check us out on Patreon. You can get access to our Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay bonus campaign, Rough Nights and Hard Days, as well as bonus campaigns for Cult of Divinity Lost and Call of Cthulhu there. On top of that, we also offer early and raw access to all of our recordings. You can also hear your name read on the show as a champion of the Red Moon, as well as play Cult with us. Most importantly, that support is what keeps the show going, so do check us out there. Thank you again for listening, and remember that Skaven are definitely not real. And even if they were, the Emperor has already dealt with that particular problem.